Welcome! Today we're going to talk about this awesome 2016 Tesla Model X 75D that we have for sale. I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive on this one. We've had a lot of Model X's over the years come through our pre-owned department. I have a lot of experience repairing them. I actually have another Model X in 2018 at Tesla Service Center right now, getting its seat repaired. I've repaired the air suspensions on them, the seats. So we'll talk about some common issues with these Model X's and approximate cost to repair them at the Tesla service facility. The Model X has gotten a lot more affordable. A couple of years ago, it would be about $60,000-$70,000 if you wanted to pretty much get into almost any Model X product, but over the last couple of years, they have gotten a lot less expensive. This is a 2016. It's actually the first year of the Model X product. It's a second fully made Tesla product. We had the Model S first. It came out right around 2013. Then the Model X was second. The Tesla Roadster was like the first Tesla, but it was largely based off the Lotus Elise platform, so it was not 100% a fully developed Tesla product. The S and X were the first ground-up Tesla products. So this is a 2016 75D. The 75 stands for the size of the battery. It's about a 75 kilowatt-hour battery. It has a fully charged EPA range of about 250 miles. But that can be deceiving. In fact, the EPA actually just had Tesla revise their mileage estimates. Tesla and a lot of EVs can be overly optimistic about their range for a number of reasons. Reason number one is that this has a lithium-ion battery. A lot of the performance-based Teslas, or a lot of the premium Tesla products, and a lot of the earlier Tesla products use lithium-ion batteries. Now Tesla has newer technology like LFP batteries, which are lithium iron phosphate, which are cheaper to produce. They're not quite as energy dense, so they weigh more. Lithium-ion batteries are kind of like the performance batteries. You know, batteries are like an engine in the car. You can have the performance battery, or you can have the economy battery. The LFPs are kind of more the economical batteries. So the thing with lithium-ion batteries, for daily use, they only like to be charged to 80%. So they're right there. That's going to knock off, a little bit from the 250-mile range, about 20% from it. And you're going to get mileage degradation over the years. So, usually Tesla is going to lose a couple percent, 1%, 0.5%, depending on, the battery and how you take care of it over the years. So maybe a Tesla that's 10 or 20 years old is not going to fully charge to 100%. Maybe it will charge to about, 90% of its original capacity or a little bit less. So those are things to think about. So real world range, probably depending on the temperature can affect range. It's probably around 150, maybe 200 miles, give or take. Teslas tend to be more efficient in around the town driving, which most of us do, and they tend to be less efficient on the highway. A lot of car magazines will do a 70-mile-an-hour test loop on their vehicles to test fuel economy, but most of us don't drive 70 miles an hour nonstop on the highway. A few of us do, but most of our commuting is more around the town. So Teslas tend to be less efficient, at 70 miles an hour. Pretty much, the aerodynamics of cars, once you get past 55 miles per hour, you're pretty much hitting an aerodynamic brick wall. It takes a lot more power, a lot more energy to make the vehicle go faster once you get past 55 miles an hour. So vehicles tend to be less efficient, even gas cars. That's why a while ago, probably before many of you were alive, that we had a national 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. Like the whole country had a speed limit of 55 miles an hour. Now we have 65 and 75-mile-an-hour speed limits. I think a lot of people would probably go crazy having to go 55 miles an hour, especially like in the middle of Montana or North Dakota where it's a straight line. But the reason why we did that is because we had the gas crisis in the 70s and we wanted to conserve as much fuel as possible. So that's why they had the 55 mile an hour speed limit. It was to, make vehicles use less fuel. But eventually we got rid of that. So that's a little spiel there about why, EVs tend to be less efficient on the highway, where gas cars are the opposite. Usually they tend to be more efficient on the highway. So that's a little bit of a difference there. So yes, but the thing is that most of us, we don't drive, more than 40 or 50 miles a day. I have a Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus, which has a similar range to this. And I very rarely go below 100 miles of range. And Tesla's just sitting in the parking lot, sitting in a parking space. They can use energy. It has advanced thermal management systems for the battery. The Tesla is not going to want to get the battery to get too hot or too cold, because that's going to reduce its efficiency, especially if it's way too cold. So some energy will be used to heat the battery. And sometimes you have cabin overheat protection and things like that. So all these things can take a little bit away from the battery. So yes, I mean, if you drive more than 100 miles a day, you'd probably want to look at an EV or a Tesla with more range than this one. But if you're kind of like me, where most of your driving's about under 100 miles a day, you're going to be perfectly fine. And then you have the backup of Tesla's amazing supercharging network. You can use this lightning bolt right here to find all the superchargers. Actually, it looks like that one's, so it kind of tells you which ones are busy. So this is a new supercharger, and you can see there's a wait time there. They're all occupied, where this one has 1 stall available. This one has 2 stalls available. So that can help you find different superchargers. And it's always good to navigate to the supercharger, because the Tesla will preheat the battery so it will charge more efficiently. The battery's pretty warm on this one. We've been driving it for a while, so the battery's pretty warm on this one, so it probably doesn't need to get preheated. But sometimes when the batteries are cold, it'll heat the battery up just so it'll charge more efficiently. So you have the Tesla supercharging network to always as a backup, and they're all over the place. So if you want to drive across the whole state of Washington, we're in the Seattle-Tacoma area. If you want to drive across the whole state to Spokane, it will figure out the trip for you. It'll make sure that you have enough range to make it to your destination. It will have your back. So if you're always concerned, if there's any concern, so I'll show you.
Now turn right onto 12th Street East.
So I'm going to charge in Auburn. I'll arrive there for 24%. I'll charge for 40 minutes. I'll charge again in Ellensburg, Washington. And it figures out the whole trip for you and the charging spots. So Tesla always has your back. And the trip planner is pretty advanced. It uses, it takes into consideration outside temperature, elevation, tire pressure, even wind. Like if there's a headwind, which could happen in the high desert, if there's a 30 mile an hour or 20 mile an hour headwind, that could reduce your range. So you can see you can pretty much drive anywhere, almost anywhere, in a Tesla, even a shorter range Model X like this one, and still, not have to worry about finding chargers. A lot of people that have non-Tesla EVs, when they have to road trip them, usually that's a deal breaker. That's usually, if we find people that have non-Tesla EVs, those are the people that we find trading out of them, just because the patchwork of non-Tesla chargers is pretty spotty and unreliable. Eventually Tesla's going to open up their charging to more people, but they need to build more chargers, and the chargers they have are pretty busy already with Tesla customers. So it'll probably be a few years before we start to see other people at Tesla chargers. But there's more and more EVs every year, and the more EVs are out there, we're going to see more chargers, and we'll probably see people start to install EV chargers like at gas stations and stuff like that, because that's just more revenue for gas stations. Gas stations usually don't make their money off gas. They make their money selling chips and cigarettes and soda pop and things like that. All right, so we have this great huge screen. The majority of the functionality is in the screen, but unlike the 3 and the Y, which is a little bit more basic Teslas, you have this nice screen over here too. Beautiful leather wrap wheel. It's power adjustable. We're going to take it for a spin around the block. I'll show you the autopilot. This has an older version of autopilot called Highway Autopilot, which is pretty nice. It actually has some more features than you have with the basic autopilot you get these days in new Teslas. So it's a dual motor. It has a motor in the front, motor in the back, making it all-wheel drive. 75 kilowatt-hour batteries, the size of the battery. So Tesla's kind of simplified the naming of their vehicles. They got away from using numbers for the size of the battery. Now with the Model X, they have a plaid, and they just have a long range. But back in the day, they had like a 60D, a 75D, a 85D, a 100D. So it can be a little bit confusing. But yeah, the fully EPA range is about 240, 250 miles. The D stands for dual motors. All right, let's continue this walk around. So much to talk about. So we have this big screen right here for the functionality. This has this is a 7-seater version. Really nice family vehicle. We have autopilot traffic work cruise control. This one also has summon, which is a really cool feature. We have a nice parking cameras. If you're bored and you're supercharging, you have the toy box, so you can play video games and stuff like that. Obviously, the CPU and the infotainment systems is not as advanced as newer 2023 or 2024 Teslas, but they do keep it relevant with over-the-air updates, improving features, improving safety and stuff like that. But you know, it's not going to have all the bells and whistles as like a new Model X or even a new Model 3 or Y. But you know, it's still great. It's still fantastic. It's still a lot better than most other vehicles from 2016. This 2016 sometimes makes brand new 2023 or 2024 cars feel dated. It was that advanced. And we have these really cool Falcon Wing doors and stuff like that. Just so much stuff to talk about. We have the power opening driver and passenger doors too, which is really cool. And you just put your foot in the brake and it will close. So these are things like that that add to the complexity of the vehicle. I'd say out of all the Tesla products, the Model X is probably one of the more complex ones, because you have power opening doors in the front. Then you have these Falcon Wing doors. These were actually kind of a headache when they first started manufacturing the Model X. They have sensors and stuff all around them. Sometimes they had issues with door alignment. These work fine. Luckily, out of the dozens of Model X's we've had, we've never had a door break. The Falcon Wing doors have been pretty reliable for us, but sometimes they can be wonky. Sometimes they might not open properly if you're just kind of parked a little bit close to someone else. You know, they're going to open differently depending on how you park, or maybe if you're in a garage with a low ceiling, they might not open at all, or might not open all the way because they don't want to hit the top of the ceiling. We have these nice adjustable seats right here. You have power adjustable controls right here. Very nice. You have this kind of gloss black plastic in the back of the seats, kind of giving it a really nice premium look. Lots of interior space back here. And talking about the prices of EVs, the Model X has gotten a lot more affordable. As I mentioned a couple years ago, a used one would still be around $60,000-$70,000. I don't get into too much pricing because we change them all the time, but right now this one is a 2016 with about 70,000 miles. It's priced right around $35,000, so it's a lot more affordable price point for somebody who's looking for a luxury, 7-row, looking for a luxury 3-row crossover family vehicle. It's a lot more accessible to a wider range of people. And look at this huge windshield right here. Amazing visibility, but this can be expensive. Like if this gets cracked, it could be $1,500, $3,000 to replace this windshield. Usually it'll be covered under insurance. You'll have to pay the deductible, but that's something to take into consideration. As cool as this windshield can be, if you have to fix it or break it, it can be expensive. Third row seats pretty accessible too. You have that button right there for third row access. Seats are squeaking a little bit. Probably have to have the tracks lubricated, but they work fairly well. There's a button here to close the door. There's a button where on that side. There's also a button on the screen too to close and open those Falcon Wing doors. We also have a power rear liftgate. The third row seats fold. There's a little button right there, and you can fold the third row seats pretty much flat. So a decent amount of space, and you also have a little bit more cargo space under there. There's a sunshades and a case for the charger. This one also has a tow hitch on it. All right, so a common issue that I've run into with the Model X is the seat controls. This one has power ones, so it's probably a little bit good on this one because the power ones tend to be a little bit more reliable. But some Teslas have manual seat controls, which is just a lever you pull forward to fold the seat forward. Sometimes those can break, and I've paid as much as $1,500 to fix it because they have to replace the whole seat assembly. I have a Tesla right now at the Tesla service department getting that fixed. That one is not quite as much. Going to fix that for about $800. That's the estimate. It's not done yet, but yeah, that's something that you can run into with these things. It can be a little bit expensive to spend $1,500 to fix a seat, but obviously that's something you're going to need to do. The air suspension. This has a adjustable air suspension, which is really nice, but that also adds complexity, and that's something that can break. And they do have issues with these air suspensions on the earlier Teslas. I had to fix the air suspension on a Model X. It was about $1,500 to repair it, which if you compare it to maybe fixing an air suspension on a Mercedes or BMW, it could be $3,000 or $4,000 at a BMW or Mercedes dealership or a Range Rover to fix an air suspension on one of their vehicles. So it's all relative. You know, obviously, if you compare this to the ownership cost of like a Toyota Corolla or a Camry, you know, the repairs are going to seem a lot more. But this is not a Camry or a Corolla. This is a premium luxury 3-row SUV. So most people would be comparing this to like a BMW or a Mercedes 3-row SUV, which can be a lot more expensive when it comes to servicing and repairing. Another common issue is the hood latch breaking. So it will let the hood pop up like this, but it won't let you open it all the way. See, there's a safety feature. This one, it's not broken. Just because I was closing all the doors, it has a safety feature on right now, not allowing me to open the hood, because if I'm driving, it doesn't want the hood to fly up and blind me and break. So I just have to hit the open button again, and it'll let me open the hood. But that safety release sometimes can fault, and it can break, and it's about $150, $170 to replace that. I had that happen on a Model X, and we have an employee who has a Model 3 where he's going to have that repaired. And some of these repairs can be done by a mobile repair person. You don't always have to go to a Tesla facility. The cool thing about Tesla, when it comes to like replacing wiper blades or a cabin filter or steering wheel, you know, replacing a light assembly, a lot of those smaller repairs, they can be done with a Tesla mobile service rep coming to you. They come to our work, they come to our dealership sometimes to work on Teslas. They don't really care. We have a Tesla account, we're the owners of the vehicle, so they'll go to where they need to go to repair them. So that can be a nice perk for somebody, not having to actually go to a Tesla facility, a service facility, to do those repairs. Let's get behind the wheel and take it out for a spin. All right, here we are taking this 2016 Model X 75D out for a drive. The one thing that you'll notice right away when driving an EV, when driving a Tesla, is just how smooth they are. There's no transmission shifting, so you don't feel that. There's no engine vibration. It is completely smooth and linear power delivery. And this, having the air suspension, it has a very cushy, comfortable ride because you're riding on air. All right, so we got a little straightaway right here. So I'm gonna punch it. This is one of the slower Model X's, but obviously no issue at all getting up to speed. 0 to 60, I think, is a little over 5 seconds. Very quick. Then, once you get up to speed, you have Tesla's amazing autopilot, which is traffic aware cruise control. So it has a little, this is an older version. It's kind of like the Mercedes-Benz cruise control stock. So I'm going to pull this stock towards me twice. That's going to activate the autopilot. When the steering wheel is highlighted in blue, it means the autopilot is on. I can adjust the speed up, I can adjust it down. It does a pretty good job following the lines and bends in the highway. It does have limitations. Of course, this is an older system. It's not gonna stop for red lights. It's not gonna stop for stop signs. So you'll have to stop for that. But it will stop for vehicles that are stopping in front of you. So in stop and go traffic, it is fantastic. See, we have a red light right here. So I'm gonna hit the brake right here. But aside from that, you can get a lot of mileage out of autopilot. And it even, you know, it's really meant to be used on the highway, but it also works great on roads too. Even 2-lane back roads, it does a really good job following those. I'll show you that shortly. All right, and punch it right there. The acceleration is absolutely a riot in these Teslas. It's a lot of fun. Even the slower ones, the slower Teslas, are still pretty much faster than many other cars on the road. So the autopilot on, and you can see it does a pretty good job of following the curves. It's not going to take sharp hairpin corners like you're going to have to take over for that. But it does a pretty good job following the bends in the highway. And with this older highway autopilot, it also has another trick up its sleeve, which you don't get with the new autopilot. If I put the turn signal on, it will automatically change lanes for me. It has ultrasonic sensors, so it's kind of like, it doesn't have blind spot cameras or blind spot alert, but with the ultrasonic sensors, it will see a vehicle in your lane, and obviously it's not going to change lanes into a vehicle next to you. And on the screen right here, you can easily see if there's a vehicle right in your blind spot, so it's pretty visual. So these systems work great. If you're in stop and go traffic, you can get a lot of mileage out of these systems. I use it all the time. Whenever I have to run errands for the store, I find myself taking a Tesla with autopilot, just because the monotony of driving in stop and go traffic on the highway is almost to the point of being unbearable. Once you experience it, it's hard to, you get spoiled by it. And you need to pay attention. This is not an advanced system. It's not full self-driving. You can see people in the news, sometimes they'll hit vehicles, they'll hit parked fire trucks or police vehicles on the side of the road. Sometimes they can't see that stuff, so you have to still pay attention and take over. But just the fact of this taking the workload of driving, braking, accelerating, and steering in its own lane, and I'm just paying attention, that relieves a lot of mental workload off my brain. It really makes a big difference. And the one thing I forgot to talk about costs, I guess the biggest repair cost on a Tesla would be having to replace the battery. Unfortunately, it does happen. I've had some people comment on their YouTube pages where they've unfortunately bought an out of warranty Tesla, and the battery to replace it could be $20,000–$30,000 to do it through a Tesla dealership. There are some aftermarket companies popping up doing refurbished batteries, which can be a lot cheaper, but a lot cheaper could still be $10,000–$15,000. It could be a lot of money for someone out of pocket to replace a battery. But the batteries are kind of like engines in the car. They're not really designed to be replaced. They're designed to last the whole life of the vehicle. And just like cars, engines can prematurely go bad. Batteries can prematurely go bad in Teslas. Obviously, that's why they recommend charging it to 80%, things like that. For daily use, it's perfectly fine to charge it to 100% every once in a while for a road trip or something like that. But for daily use, charging it to 80%, that'll help the life of the vehicle. But these Teslas, they do have a very robust warranty. This one actually still has a little bit of warranty on the battery and drive units. I think it's going to be up in March, but it has an unlimited mileage warranty. Teslas basically come with an 8-year warranty depending on the models. Like my Tesla Model 3 has a warranty to 100,000 miles. Some of the earlier Model S's and X's have unlimited mileage warranties for 8 years. Some of the newer high-end Teslas have like a 150,000 mile warranty. So that's basically like a powertrain warranty. It covers the battery, it covers the drive units. So potentially, if the drive units, which the electric motors go bad or the battery goes bad, this thing is still covered under warranty. So the person who buys it, they at least have a few months of breathing room just to make sure that the battery is good, it's not bad. Generally, I think Tesla's threshold is if once the battery is below 70% capacity, they'll replace it under warranty. So obviously that can be a big maintenance item, but there's also a lot of Model X's and S's out there with 300,000 miles, 200,000 miles, 400,000 miles. There's one Model S with 1,000,000 miles on it. So there's even a Tesla high mileage club. So there are plenty of examples of Teslas out there with plenty of warranty, plenty of miles on them, with the batteries being just fine. In fact, last month we sold a 2020 Model 3 with 125,000 miles on it, and the battery did lose a little bit of capacity to degradation over the years. A battery can only be charged and depleted so many times before it goes bad or starts to degrade. That's just fact of life. But an engine with 300,000 miles on it's gonna be a little bit tired. It's gonna probably have some leaks and things going wrong with it. So yeah, I mean, it's it's a risk to buy any out of warranty vehicle. But if you buy an out of warranty BMW or Mercedes, which only have a 4-year 50,000 mile warranty, that's it. They'll only warranty their engines. There's no extra powertrain warranties on BMWs and Mercedes. It's just 4 years 50,000 miles. From that aspect, you have a lot more coverage with these Model X's and S's, that have the 8-year unlimited mileage warranty. We'll put the autopilot on again. As you can see, the autopilot works on roads like this, and even smaller 2-lane roads. Like I said, it's not going to take hairpin corners, but It will take, gentle bends and stuff like that. You need to pay attention and be diligent. It might, if a pedestrian's crossing the road, it will likely see it and stop, but not always. So I wouldn't always rely on the car stopping. If you see, the potential of having an accident or a collision, stop it on your own. Don't let the car always do it. But for me to have to just do this type of driving is kind of monotonous, and it frees you up a little bit. You can kind of get a little bit of breathing room. Maybe you can look around a little bit, and it's not as draining as you having to do all the work. So yeah, it makes a big difference. But yeah, the batteries can be expensive to replace, and that's something to think about, when buying one of these things. If you don't, it's a risk. But maybe you can't afford $70,000-$80,000 for a newer Model X, and this is all you can afford. But replacing an engine in a BMW or Mercedes, that can be really expensive too. Like if we're talking a BMW, a high performance BMW of a twin turbo V8, replacing an engine of a brand new one could be $20,000-$30,000, almost as much as or about the same as what it costs to replace a battery in a Tesla. So, well, that pretty much ends our little drive and walk around in this 2016 Model X 75D. Hopefully it was informative, regardless if you're interested in this specific one or just looking for information on pre-owned Tesla Model X's in general. Thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you soon, and have a wonderful day.